welcome to the Corner 3 Live. We're taking your questions today for an AMA about the draft and free agency. I'm Kevin O'Connor here with Jonathan Tjarks and Danny Chau. So submit your questions, but we have some news this morning that we're going to start out with. The Memphis Grizzlies traded Mike Conley to the Utah Jazz for Jay Crowder, Kyle Corver, Grayson Allen, the 23rd pick in Thursday's draft, and a first-round pick that's protected through the next 2 years and probably won't convey until the 2022 draft. Tjarks, this trade for the Utah Jazz definitely bolsters their odds moving forward in the wide-open NBA Finals chase.
Yeah, I mean, he's such like a more complete player than Ricky Rubio in terms of being able to score and shoot. I mean, playing him with Donovan Mitchell helped, I think, Mitchell out a lot. That should be like, that's one of the better backcourts in the league. And they're not that bad on defense, even though they're not that big.
Seriously, welcome back to the playoffs, Mike Conley.
Yeah, totally.
This is great. I do have some concerns about, like, they just traded away their only small ball four. So, like, what are your options there in terms, like, you can look at the Jazz and see this regular season team, and it's going to be amazing. Their defense is going to be amazing. Their offense is going to be amazing. Mike Conley is one of the elite pick and roll guys in the league. Rudy Gobert is probably the best screener in the league. So their offense is really going to shift. But do they have any kind of counter moves on defense?
Well, how much cap room do they have left, I guess, is the question.
They do have Joe Ingles, though. Joe Ingles, you can use him. I think they do need to fill some gaps in there. But, like, for me, like, my initial takeaway is, like, boy, Donovan Mitchell's about to have a much easier time. Because with Conley, as you said, Danny, one of the best pick and roll playmakers in the league, somebody who can not only playmake for others, but he's also somebody that can score off the catch too. He can run off screens and handoffs and spot up. So it's like Mitchell has another target to pass to and someone who's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure on him. So like Conley's not going to get headlines like Anthony Davis or some other signings and trades that might happen. But like he's a really good player and he has been for a long, long time. And then for the Grizzlies though, they're trading their best remaining player. The grit and grind era is over. Yeah. It's done.
My guy Taylor Jenkins running the show.
AKA Tyler Parker from The Ringer, a doppelganger of him. But anybody who watches Take Hunter knows Tyler Parker looks just like him. But for Memphis, I love this trade. It's like Crowder, I don't get too excited about him. Culver is like an obvious buyout candidate, and Grayson Allen stunk as a rookie. But getting the 23rd pick gives them a chance to get a good role player in today's draft. And then a future pick gives them more draft equity. So it's for Memphis, this really jumpstarts their rebuild around Jaren Jackson and maybe Ja Morant with the second pick.
Yeah, I mean, they essentially got 3 first-round picks for Conley. Yeah. Right? Because, like, Grayson Allen, it's tough to be a rookie on a team like Utah and might play consistently. I mean, I could see him being a decent NBA player, right? He can shoot. Yeah,
he's a wing with size, a little bit of, he has the body for being an NBA wing, and yeah, that's basically the type of player that the Grizzlies have been trying to find for years now.
I get it all comes down to who their point guard is, I guess now, right?
And it seems like it'll be Ja Morant. And so just to get to your questions now, first pick, it seems like it'll be Zion to New Orleans, of course. Second pick, all indications are that it'll be Ja Morant.
Are you sure? And RJ to Memphis?
We'll see. It's the third pick is where things get really, really interesting, and the fourth pick as well. And one of the first questions we got here is from Eagles 2001, and he says, "Are the Darius Garland rumors just smoke, or is there actually something here?" And what he's referring to is the fact that the Knicks worked out Darius Garland today, actually, and they have the third pick in the draft. The fact that there are constantly rumors surrounding the Pelicans with the fourth pick in the draft that they might trade out of that pick, a team might trade in for Darius Garland. So I think there's a lot to this. I think there's a chance a trade happens. Is Garland the guy in this draft that you would be trading up for, Tjarks? What is it about Garland that makes him so appealing to other teams?
I mean, I think people see him and they see like, oh, this guy can shoot off the dribble like a Trae Young point guard. Like that's the idea. It's like he's a 3-point shooting point guard. I think to me, one of the big questions of this draft is so Ja Morant's considered the number 1 point guard, right, by most people. So number 2, is it Darius Garland or Kobe White from UNC? I'm more of a Kobe White guy, and I think that could be a huge question hanging over this draft. Who's better of those two?
I just think the whole talk around Garland has been basically he's emerged as this year's like man of mystery, and he's played 5 games in the NCAA and maybe 1 consequential one against USC.
You got to see him live.
Yeah,
right?
we were both there to watch that live. I mean, he looked good, but it's just there's such a small sample in terms of what he was able to do against the highest level of competition that he's ever played on. But yeah, he has all of the skills and all of the kind of the makings of that type of point guard in the NBA. And so I guess that's kind of what teams are looking at.
Tjarks mentioned Kobe White. Him and Garland are two risers in this year's draft, and White has drawn interest from the Suns and the Bulls at 6 and 7, respectively. Tjarks, I know you like White a lot, but Danny, like, do you find that White has a chance to be the best guard in this draft? Like, what is it about him that actually gives him a chance? Why is he rising, rather?
Right.
It's a better question.
I think compared to Morant and compared to Garland, he has just the size advantage over them. He's a legit 6'5", legit like explosive athlete. He's very, very fast. And he showed the willingness to basically hit really tough threes.
Step backs. He was hitting a lot of step back threes last year. It was kind of crazy for a freshman guard.
I'm not quite as high on Kobe White as either of you guys. I think with him, like, he clearly has the makings of somebody who could be a go-to scorer, but his shooting off the dribble is average. He has a low shooting release, and he gets blocked or shots altered quite often. That's against college defenders, so I'm a bit concerned about that against NBA.
Like, I got the step back, man.
Yeah,
Kobe White.
But then like his at rim finishing isn't good, and like his pass,
it was better than Ja's, wasn't it?
I know that's my issue with Ja too, but then his decision making is poor. Like Kobe White seems to me like
I feel like poor to me is a stretch. Like he's kind of a wild player, but poor I think is too far. That's a bridge too far.
There's a strong probability that he's like a spark plug off the bench.
He makes some nice passes though. Like tell me he don't make some nice passes sometimes.
He does. He flashes potential.
Right.
He's
fun to watch.
As we said up top, we're taking your questions wherever you're watching this, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Just comment and we'll answer your questions moving forward. We have a question here though from Matt Stewart, who asked, the Pacers feel like they're close. Is there someone that can help right away at their pick at number 18? Is there any guy in the middle of the draft that can come in and bolster that Pacers roster?
I think there's a lot of guys. Like, they drafted last year Aaron Holiday. They tend to draft these older college players who kind of been around, polished. Like someone like Grant Williams or Cam Johnson from UNC could probably play for them right away. Though I think the thing with Indiana, the real question is, I've heard like they go up to number 4.
Yeah, I reported yesterday that the Pacers are one of the teams that have talked to the Pelicans about moving up to the 4th pick, and
that's crazy. It's interesting. That's super interesting.
Now you start thinking, what type of talent would they have to, send off in return for that? And I mean, the number one guy on my list on my wish list would probably be Myles Turner.
My guy Myles, Dallas-Fort Worth, baby.
It's got to be Myles Turner if it's for the 4th pick, and really, like for both teams, it makes some sense here because if you're New Orleans, Myles Turner next to Zion Williamson gives you a chance to have one of the best defensive front courts in the league long term with Drew Holiday and Lonzo Ball in the backcourt and Brandon Ingram at the wing. Like, that's a good defensive team now, this season. And then for Indiana, maybe you get Jarrett Culver there. One guy that I know both of you really, really are high on. So Culver, is he somebody that could help the Pacers right away or wherever he gets drafted? Is Culver one of those rookies that can contribute from day one?
Yeah, I think so. I think he has kind of set a floor on himself just by being a smart defensive player who has size and who can be a secondary, facilitator for a team. And with Oladipo kind of probably needing time to either get back from his injury on rehab
is he going to start the season? Have they said anything about that?
I don't think he'll start the season.
Yeah,
but
I don't think so
they are a likely destination for Ricky Rubio, so maybe he can hold down the fort.
Okay.
But Danny, you have Culver ranked 2nd for what it's worth. This is a draft where almost everybody, the consensus is Zion 1, Ja 2, RJ 3. So with Culver, 20 years old, a sophomore from Texas Tech, with his game, what gives him that edge in your mind as the second best player in this draft?
I just love that he was a really unheralded recruit who basically had an explosive leap forward in his sophomore year. He improved in every single facet. He improved his body. He became a go-to scorer on a team that was pretty much only known for its defense. And there are some serious concerns about whether or not his shot will, translate to the next level. But I think he has the slashing mentality. I think he has the smarts to get it done at the next level.
It's all about that jumper for him. If he can hit spot up threes.
That leads us nicely into a question from Vedika. I keep hearing DeAndre Hunter and Jarrett Culver are safe lottery picks. Is that true? Why? What makes a guy like Culver safe, or someone like DeAndre Hunter, a forward from Virginia?
See, I think to me, safe is like if you can shoot jumpers. Like that's why I think Hunter is probably safer than Culver, even though I'd say he has a lower, not as high upside. But to me, like when I'm looking for a safe player, a guy with positional size who can guard and a guy who can shoot jumpers. Because if you can't do that in the NBA, you look at guys like, Stanley Johnson, right? Like you would think, oh, he's a safe pick because he's such a big athletic guy with some ball skills, but he can't shoot. And he never knew how to shoot, and now it's like, well, I can trade somewhere else.
That's the interesting thing to me about both these guys, because there's nothing supernatural about Culver or Hunter as a player or as a prospect. But like in terms of them being safe, for me, it's like with DeAndre Hunter, I think he's safe to be at least an average rotation player. Because
you know he can shoot it, right? Like, you're pretty sure he can shoot those.
Yeah, but like his flaws are like he can shoot at least like an above average level. But with him, it's like he's a slow decision maker. His off ball defense is just okay. So and he doesn't do a lot for you off the dribble. So with DeAndre Hunter, it's like there's an easy path to him becoming a solid player, but safe for like the 5th or 6th pick in the draft. I'm not too hot on him in that regard.
So for you, safe. At least in terms of the top 5, you still need to have a certain level of upside.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have Hunter 11th right now on my board in the Ringers draft guide, and that'll be shuffled around when we update tomorrow. But to me, it's like I still see the lane to becoming a safe player for some of the younger guys. It's like, to me, you look at Grant Williams, who you mentioned earlier. He's only 20 years old. He to me,
I like this take, KOC. Get on board. Like Grant Williams, Hunter.
Yeah, I think Grant Williams.
Nice.
I think P.J. Washington from Kentucky.
I'm with you on that too.
Prospect. I think Brandon Clark from Gonzaga is quote unquote safer. I think Goga Batadze, international
we could talk
big
about
man.
Goga for a while.
I think there's a handful of guys that are quote unquote safer players, but also present more upside. And then there's guys like Duamia who have greater upside. A Cam Reddish might be more risk, but has greater upside.
But I would say in terms of like safety, like if you draft DeAndre Hunter, he's not going to be Josh Jackson. I think that's the concern, right? Because they spent a number 4 pick on Josh Jackson. Now they might trade him. Now he's out of the rotation. Like safe to me is like if I draft this guy, he'll play 25 minutes. It's going to be a steady job. DeAndre Hunter, that's the one thing I get him. It's a lock that spot away for a while.
With that said, we have a good follow-up question from Senate Drawdy. He asks, if the Pelicans keep the pick at 4, who is the best pick there then, Danny? Is it DeAndre Hunter? Is it Jarrett Culver? Cam Reddish? Do you take a swing here? Do you go for a quote-unquote safe pick?
I mean, if they do keep the pick, I feel like they're pretty much set on a lot of their starting positions.
That's the thing.
You have Drew, you have Lonzo, you have Ingram.
And Zion.
And you have Zion.
So that's 4 of your 5 spots.
And so I don't know if you're necessarily going to be taking a risk on, a big to pair with Zion.
Well, let's talk about that. Because first, with Myles Turner, like we were talking about earlier, like to me, getting a stretch big man for Zion's the most important thing for them right now.
Right.
Because they had the perimeter spots kind of locked in, not a ton of shooting. Like imagine if they got Brook Lopez down there, right? Or someone who could be Brook Lopez. That would be my idea if I was New Orleans.
And Myles Turner was arguably a Defensive Player of the Year candidate already.
And he never shoots threes in Indiana. It's crazy. He goes to New Orleans, shoots like 4-5 threes a game. That's why I love this trade to get Myles Turner in here. Not to go off topic.
If I'm New Orleans, I would push hard for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Turner to me is a better if you're ranking
for sure
all the prospects in the draft with all of like the young players under 25 years old in the league, Turner to me is a better prospect than Hunter, Reddish, and Culver.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement about that?
Yeah, and I remember when the Knicks were Knicks fans, when the Knicks were kind of the favorites to win to get the number 1 pick because they were, the worst team in the NBA.
14% odds.
Right, exactly. And the whole idea behind that was like, oh my God, pairing Porzingis and Zion was a no-brainer, whatever. Myles Turner has a lot of those same, skill sets. He's a tall, long, floor spacing big man who has some rim protection potential.
And here's the thing about this trade, which I think could make it happen, is because like in Indiana, Domantas Sabonis is up this summer. He's going to want at least $15 million, right? It's hard to pay 2 centers that much money in this league now. And I'm sure Sabonis is like, I'd like to start. I'm really good. If I want to sign here again, I want to be on the bench the rest of my career. And in Indiana's system, I don't think Turner would ever reach his potential because they don't shoot enough threes. And if Myles Turner's who we want him to be, he has to shoot threes.
Which is a Nate McMillan problem. I think.
Yeah, but he's a successful coach. Are they going to change it?
Coach.
I don't think they're going to change their system. Do you?
I think they should.
But will they, though?
No, but they should.
Yeah. So at that point, then you got to do what you got to do.
They should. Let's move on to a question from Matthew Sterling. He asked, outside of Kemba Walker,
Ooh, Mavs talk.
Yes, the Mavericks haven't been linked to many other free agent targets. Could you see them signing D'Angelo Russell or throwing out aggressive offers for a couple guys like Al Horford and Patrick Beverley?
100%.
One thing to amend there is, like, I reported this morning that the Mavericks are indeed interested in Al Horford.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So you would 100% go after Al Horford, Tjarks.
The Mavs never sign good free agents. Like, if they get Al Horford for their money, that'd be quite a coup.
Well, they got Harrison Barnes.
Don't even know.
Look, Tjarks' doomsday prophecy earlier this year, he was just like, I already see it, man. They're going to max out Boogie, and they're going to throw Goran Dragic like a bunch of money. Now both of those options are probably off the table, especially with Dragic re-signing. But, yeah.
I would love to get Horford in there.
What is it about that front court fit with Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic that makes that work? Does that make them a playoff team?
They have to fill out the rest of their roster. Mm-hmm. They would still have pretty big holes at the wings. But Horford, to me,
you're not a Tim Hardaway Jr. fan.
He didn't shoot threes well in Dallas. Like, if you're going to play with Luka, you got to shoot threes. He kind of bricked them up.
You know who's a Tim Hardaway Jr. fan?
Who?
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, he got hurt. He got a surgery or something. Maybe I think he'll be the sixth man next year. So then you got to get two shooters. But I would just love to get a guy come to Dallas on free agency. It hadn't happened in like a decade.
I mean, there's like 10 teams in the West that they're still going to contend for the playoffs. The Mavericks would enter that conversation with Horford. When you consider the fact that even Horford, even though he's not quite what he was in his prime, he has lost a little bit of a step. He fortifies that defense. He's able to switch and defend on the perimeter, still able to protect the rim. So when you have him and Kristaps Porzingis, you can play with two bigs, or you can put one of them at the 5 and play small if you want to. As you said, you need to add more wings and forwards. But with Luka Doncic, with those two guys spacing the floor for him, with the size, they'd be a really tough team to defend. There's not many teams that are built to defend two bigs like that with skill.
Yeah, no, and we've said this so many times with Al Horford. He does everything well at the 5 position. There's not a single thing that he can't do. And when you have a guy like that, you just check off so many boxes. And that creates so much versatility for the rest of your roster.
And this is something, Chaos, you've been saying for a while, which is a good point. You've been saying, like, Golden State might only be here forever. When they go down, maybe these bigger teams can come back in it. Like, right now, if I'm Dallas and I have Horford and Porzingis, really it's like Houston could beat me with small ball, maybe Portland, right? So that's another thing, too.
And that's one reason why with the Lakers, let's say they strike out on everybody. They don't get Kawhi. They don't get Kyrie. They don't get Kemba Walker. They can't land a trade for another guy. To me, it's like Horford makes a lot of sense there because you talk about the size. When you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Al Horford, 3 big-ass dudes that also can play, that have skill, ability to space the floor and handle the ball, that's a load to handle for defenses. To me, it's like Horford should probably be a little bit even higher on the list for the Lakers than maybe not over Kemba, but he's like right there next to him, I think.
Okay, but what do we do with Kyle Kuzma?
Put him at the 2, baby. Play bully ball. Play big.
See, my thing with that is, like, if Horford goes to Dallas, they make the playoffs, it'll be a good season. Like, oh, that's cool. But if he goes to LA, it's like, we got to win a championship. And you're talking about a championship, you're starting like 2 guys on minimums in the backcourt. Like, who's playing perimeter defense in that team?
Rondo! Yes!
Maybe he is. That's what happened.
I mean, I would love to see Horford pair up with LeBron. Like, in their, they've played 23, I believe, playoff games against one another. Horford has won 4 of them. Horford has won 4 of those 23 games. So I'm sure Horford would love to play with the King.
Here's the thing, though. It's like you're talking about the Lakers. Adrian Wojnarowski reported that they are interested in buying second-round draft picks. If you could get like a Carson Edwards from Purdue to play point for you, somebody like that, a Tremont Waters from LSU, a second-round point guard who's like not going to be the guy that's a primary, but somebody who can at least shoot for you and just handle the load a little bit to alleviate the pressure off LeBron.
But my thing, like, will LeBron be cool with playing with so many rookies? Like, LeBron never likes doing that.
He might not have a choice, though.
LeBron's always, he'll sign Kyle Korver probably, right?
Yeah, sure. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
When Korver's a buyout, and
he'll
maybe
be there.
Bring in Dwayne Wade out of retirement, get Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo's definitely coming back.
Then the Rockets aren't able to try Chris Paul. They buy him out. I'm just saying.
Now we're talking.
Does Fertitta have enough money to buy out like Chris Paul?
I'm saying we're bringing Melo back, though, for sure. That's happening.
Let's move on to a question from Annie Briggs. If Cam Reddish had gotten hurt after the UK opener and didn't play the UK Duke opener and hadn't played the rest of the season like Darius Garland, does he go top 3 with his measurements and the fanfare he had? Does the fanfare he had going into school keep him in the top 3, top 4, top 5 conversation? Because right now, Cam has become a guy as like a top-ranked high school recruit, Danny, that has become somebody that could go 8th, 9th, or 10th after he struggled all season playing next to Zion and RJ.
This is a great question.
It really is. This is 100% right, I think.
I think so. And I've been thinking about this like all season long, just how much Duke kind of insulated Cam Reddish's stock in that he was always going to be the third option. He was always going to be a guy who was thought of after Zion and RJ. And so there's only so much that could have happened to his draft stock. I mean, like, we're still talking about him as a top, 7, top 8 pick when he had, frankly, a pretty miserable season offensively for the Duke team.
But I think this guy's point is right. Like, if you see his Cam at an empty gym, just like shooting jumpers.
6'9",
he's like, this guy's a top 3 pick for sure. Like, just the way he looks, he's an empty gym all-star. Like, you watch Cam for like 10 minutes, like, man, that guy's so talented. I could see it for sure.
He's an empty gym all-star. Does he have any chance to be a real all-star?
The right situation, like, I think with Cam, if he can play off a good point guard, right? Duke didn't really have a good point guard last year. They had trade. I guess RJ was the point guard, so it was hard to play off him.
I think with Cam, I still really like him.
He's got so many tools.
I can't.
Yeah,
help
of course.
6'8", 7-foot wingspan. He's a good kid, like a hardworking kid, not necessarily like gonna be in the gym every hour like RJ Barrett or Zion, but he likes basketball. And to me, it's like you consider the fact that he projects as a good shooter long term. He already showed the ability to be a pretty good versatile defender.
He did.
So he has that as like a baseline of skills. And then in high school, he was a bit more of a passer and playmaker, which he didn't get the chance to show at Duke because he was playing next to RJ Barrett and Zion Williamson. Those skills alone, it's like spot-up shooter, attack closeouts, make smart plays off the dribble.
Okay, so you're selling me right now. I'm all
I
in.
mean, to me, it's like that's the role for Cam. And it's like we talk about safe picks. It's like with Cam Reddish, it was about the expectations. He did not meet expectations.
Right.
But if he came in as like the 34th ranked high school prospect, just the third guy that they added alongside Trey Jones, I think people would be like, yeah, he had a solid season.
And he was playing through injuries. Like he just had surgery on what they called a core muscle last month. I think early on in the Duke season in October, he was playing through a fractured rib. And so, these are things that we maybe should consider in terms of evaluation with him.
Yeah, I mean, the rumor has been for a while that New Orleans would want to draft RJ to play with Zion. But if I was them, I'd rather have Cam than RJ next to Zion.
Right.
We're taking your questions wherever you're watching this, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And let's move on to a good one here from Bob Schoonover. He asks, which prospect has the biggest spread between floor and ceiling? And I think this is maybe an obvious answer here. I got a guy who comes to mind.
Are you going with Bol Bol?
Bol Bol.
Yeah,
it's got to be Bol Bol. I think with Bol Bol, the floor for him is like out of the league in a year because of injuries, because of the fact that he has these twig legs and he's not able to defend bigs. He's not mobile on the perimeter.
Twig legs that go on forever.
Yes, exactly. They're endless. But the ceiling here, like we're talking about, he looks sort of like a Porzingis type of player because he's so long and so big. He can shoot threes. At what percentage?
50% shooting threes at Oregon.
He can stroke threes, and he can do some stuff off the dribble for you, too. So it's like, with Bol Bol, to me, I am going to be fascinated to see where he actually gets selected in this year's draft because it reminds me of Thon Maker. When he got drafted 10th by the Bucks, that sort of came out of nowhere. So with Bol Bol, I could easily see a team trying to take a swing on him in the lottery, but I could also see him falling to like 25 or 26 because of the medical concern, because of the character concern, and just the fact that like I'm not sure how good he'll be defensively.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see Rodgers' article today in The Ringer?
I did not.
It's really good. Rodgers wrote an article, and it was all about like Bol Bol being the son of a former NBA player, how that's affected him and versus Minute. It's a good story. Check it out.
We got a question specifically for you, Danny. This is a random one. From Joshua Benton. Who's your dream chowdown guest from this draft?
Nice. Love it.
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like it would have to be an international prospect. I would love to have some food with Goga. Goga Batadze.
Show that picture from
Yeah,
today.
like-
This is amazing.
Look,
So-
no one wants to talk to you, Goga. Everyone wants to talk to Zion. I'll eat with you, man.
We'll describe the photo since I don't know if we can overlay it, but
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
photo of Goga Batadze, who is a overseas prospect, sitting next to Zion Williamson in an NBA Draft Media Day. And like as you would expect, like the media is just hoarding around Zion, and Goga's sitting alone at the table.
Oh, no one's near him. He's looking at the mob like,
Yes.
look at all those people over there.
He is just contemplating life. He is contemplating whether he can come on Danny's show,
Right.
Chow Down.
It's funny, like NBA stats separates, it defines openness by 4 to 6 feet away, and wide open is 7 to 8 or whatever. He was wide open. He was absolutely wide open.
It's funny.
We
man.
have a question here from Young Marxist who asks, "It's
Young Marxist. Oh my goodness. What do we got going on over here?
Is Kevin Porter Jr. a top 5 talent
Ooh.
in this draft?" And Porter will not get selected top 5, but is he a top 5 talent?
Which,
Tjarks.
by the way, Paolo Uggetti had a good profile today, Kevin.
Yeah.
Very, very
We've
good.
got these questions all timed up for our.
It was a good week
Yeah.
for Paolo with features.
Oh my gosh, the Jonte one too.
Yeah, he had
that was
one
awesome.
I mean, maybe he's biased with Porters, but he had Jonte Porter
Yeah.
and then Kevin
Oh,
Porter
that's,
Jr.
yeah,
so-
the whole Porter family. That's funny. I didn't realize that.
But Kevin Porter Jr., freshman from USC, we also saw him live this year.
Yep.
Kevin Porter Jr., I'm not super high on him. I don't love his feel. I think his shooting is blah. I'm not a fan there. I think to me he's a theoretical player.
But theoretically, though,
Theoretically, is he a top 5 talent?
he's got a lot of skills for a guy his size.
A lot of
And
skills.
he's got a big NBA body.
Very big,
right?
very, he's a fluid, strong athlete. He's been working on that step back. He's basically trying to mold himself into
Yeah.
a modern NBA player.
I think he probably goes to G League for a year or two, right? He's really young. And then maybe in 2 years you kind of it's possible. I wouldn't bet on it, though, but it's possible.
Question from Matt Matheson. What player do you think has the biggest room for improvement / growth, or even total change of play style between college and the pros? That's an interesting question. Is there anybody that comes to mind where you look at the system in college and you're like, yeah, that sucks. Get this college trash out of here. Put him in the NBA with spacing and movement.
it's cheating when we say Zion.
Right? It has to be.
It has to, but it's Zion, right?
It could be. It's Zion. If it's Zion, it's Zion. Just because he's Zion and the number 1 pick doesn't mean he can't be the response here, because I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, every time we've talked about Zion, it's always just been like, he's good at literally everything. But Synergy says he's good at everything.
Here's the question. In New Orleans, do they have enough shooting for us to see? Right? That's the thing is Ingram, Lonzo, a center. They got to find guys who can shoot the ball around Zion.
That's a fair point. They do need shooting around him. But I think, like, theoretically, that system, Alvin Gentry's
Play fast.
fast-paced offense.
Can you imagine Zion fast breaking every time? Oh my! Zion going coast to coast off rebounds.
I mean, like, one of the things I'm most looking forward to this season is Lonzo to
Lonzo,
Zion,
Zion.
ball,
Oh my
lobs,
gosh,
but also Zion to Lonzo lobs. But also, like, this team, like, defensively, like, if we're talking about fit on defense matters too, and it's a great fit for him to have, like, a veteran point guard on the perimeter in Drew Holiday. Zion's going to be one of those rookies who I think makes an instant impact.
it's all about that 5 spot. If they get a good 5 in there, they got a good team right now.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Like I said earlier, submit your questions on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're going to do this for about another 20, 30 more minutes.
we
or
can
so.
talk draft whenever, man.
We can talk for 4 hours. You want to go for 4 hours?
Kevin's already pissed off today. They shut that down.
I
really
got
fast.
declined. We have a question from Mr. Crockpot. Interesting Twitter handle. He asks, Sixers fans are torn between Cameron Johnson from UNC and Matisse Thybulle from Washington at the 24th pick in the draft. Who is the best pick for the Sixers at 24? And let's take this as sort of like a general discussion on some sleepers in the draft. Both these guys are sort of 3-and-D type of players. Do you guys have a preference between either of these guys?
I think for the Sixers, you are looking for absolute shooting, and
Yeah.
Cam Johnson makes a lot of sense. Matisse Thybulle is probably my favorite of the two, given just he might be the best defender in this draft. But if you're looking for a pick for the Sixers, you're looking for a surefire, like Landry Shamet type, instant impact type player. I would go for the
He doesn't have
best
the
shooter.
quite amount of skills as Landry, but he
Yeah.
can really shoot it. To me, like when you get out of the top 20, that's why I really like Cam Johnson and Carson Edwards, because I know those guys are going to shoot threes, so they're going to get minutes to the NBA. And I feel like that's so important. Like their roles make sense right away.
Right.
I was talking to one of my friends yesterday about Cameron Johnson, and I was like, hey, I don't really love him I don't love him. Like, a lot of people love him as a sleeper.
Let me sell you on Cam Johnson.
Well, wait. I almost sold myself.
Okay.
It's like with Cam Johnson, like to me, the flaws are he has this hip issue. He had a surgery to repair a torn labrum, and he's like not quick laterally, and he's going to be an average defender to me. And then offensively, he doesn't do a ton off the dribble. He's not a dynamic shooter. He's more of a standstill spot-up guy. But what he is like he's a great spot-up guy. And so it's like I compared him to Jonas Jerebko. But if he's Jonas Jerebko with like a knockdown jumper, that's a pretty good role player.
Is Cam Johnson not the best shooter in this draft? And he can run off screens and shoot. Look at those numbers on those. He's hitting them at a super high percentile.
He's about 6'9", so
yeah.
he can...
Is he the best shooter in the draft, Cam Johnson? To me, he is.
Ty Jerome?
One of those two, right? There's not many guys who shoot more threes than Cam Johnson.
We got a question from Klein Feltz.
Great name.
Can you see a team being a drama fest that the Celtics were this year, who are already showing signs of turmoil?
It's for wherever Kyrie goes. He's going to give us content for sure.
So you're saying by end of the year, he's going to be asking Kenny Atkinson, what do you think about government? What do you think about the Illuminati? Is the earth flat? By the end of the year, Kenny Atkinson's going to be getting even less than 3 hours sleep than he already is.
I don't know. I believe anything with Kyrie at this point.
Yeah, me as well. I think the Nets, I mean, there's risk there. But if they sign KD too, get
that's the thing.
1 year KD red shirt, 1 year without him, then they come back and they're finals contenders.
If Kyrie can bring KD, if he can really do it.
Yeah, I like that move. Question from Andrew Westfall. Do you guys like Harrison Barnes and Al Horford opting out? Why do they opt out?
Secure the bag.
Secure the bag.
You got the 1 year left of your contract, then you can like opt
1 year
out
about it was like $30 million for Horford, 25 for Barnes.
So you had the player option, and you say, "I'll waive that, give me a long-term contract." That's what Jonas Valanciunas did too.
Yep.
Like get money, man. No problem with that.
From Glazier Nicholas. Does Kevin Love get traded during the draft? If so, what teams make sense? Is there any team that comes to mind as a fit for Kevin Love? And there's a lot to consider though. His salary is in the high $20 million.
His injury history.
His age, his declining play.
A lot to consider, man.
I mean, but I will say this about Kevin Love. It's like he's still like a solid defender. He's still a really good rebounder. And he can still shoot threes and pass.
Yeah.
So he can still do things for you. And maybe in a new offense, he can post up a bit more.
I think what we've been talking about with New Orleans, I'd tell him New Orleans too. Give me a guy who shoots threes at the 5.
What are you giving, though?
One of those picks. Not a big one.
Not 4.
No, but
Not
like
4?
you can give a decent pick. They have so many picks
What
now.
if it's like move from 4 to 5, and you get Love, and you give something else up in the trade? So it's like I don't know. If I'm just throwing that out there.
I think Love makes sense there. That's who I would go for if like that's a spot for him. I think.
Love Zion.
Yeah, I'd be like Love can also play off a ball dominant guy. He can really shoot threes.
Yeah.
He can pass. And then you have all these guys around Love to not let him play.
Oh wow!
Defense.
So you would basically have the 2 of the best outlet passers.
Then KOC, you've been saying how like New Orleans have a great defense. Well, that can cover for Kevin Love, right? Like that's 4 guys in front of him who are really good athletes, really long, really smart. I'm buying that. I'm talking myself into this right now.
Give me Myles Turner instead.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen though. This is Plan B.
Question from Rock Forever 51. How do you guys suggest? Good luck with this. How do you guys suggest that the Timberwolves trade Andrew Wiggins, considering he has one of the worst contracts in basketball? Let's figure it out here. To the Rockets, right?
To the Rockets
For Chris Paul. For Chris
So
Paul.
it's Andrew Wiggins, Gorgie Jang for Chris Paul and Nene. That's the trade. I'm calling it.
Man,
There's
so much going on there. I don't know where to start. Like, there's so much for both teams.
Yeah. Let's turn Andrew Wiggins into a 4 and 5. Let's let D'Antoni kind of do his magic.
I like this question here from Vance Williams. This is a good one. Let's go one by one here. Tjarks, if you were an undrafted free agent, which organization would you target trying to get signed by? Dallas is off the table. They can't sign you.
Probably a really bad team, like the Knicks, because like Alonzo Trier got to play. Trier got to play a bunch. He's undrafted free agent. He played for like a team that's winning like 15 games. He got a freaking contract out of it because he played 20 minutes a night. So I want to go somewhere I can play. So a bad team, whoever that's going to be, I don't know.
The Raptors.
That's home.
I'm going to the Raptors, baby.
I think I go for the Clippers. A great organization. It's Los Angeles. LA has become home to me. I really like the city.
Look at KFC's changed so fast. You see this?
No, I mean, it's not. I haven't changed.
How long have you been here
here
now? No longer a Boston guy?
Since January 2018. I was never an anything guy. I'm still not an LA guy. I just like LA.
And maybe you're an LA guy now.
Yeah,
maybe it's happening.
I'm a man of many cities, I suppose. I don't know. Let's talk about a sleeper here. Good question from Robbie Can 81. Where's Xylon Cheatham in the ranks? NBA comparison. And Xylon Cheatham, for what it's worth.
This is your guy.
This is your guy.
KOC planned this question for sure. 100%.
This is not for me. For what it's worth, I have a major crush on Xylon Cheatham as a prospect.
Yeah.
He's a redshirt senior. He's going to turn 24 as a rookie in the NBA. And he's probably a guy that's going to go late second round, maybe even undrafted. But to me, he's a first-round talent because when you consider the fact that what's important in today's league, defensive versatility, ability to defend multiple positions, he can protect the rim because he's an elite athlete. He's long, he's strong, but he also is great on the perimeter as well, can defend guards and wings. And Arizona State last year often had him defending guards a lot. And then on offense, he's a good playmaker. He's a good decision maker. He can pass as a 6'8" guy, can go coast to coast. So to me, the main flaw with him is just the shooting.
He cannot shoot.
He can't shoot.
He's a classic San Diego State player. That's where he was before Arizona State.
He shot 62% from the line. Don't pay attention to the 44% three-point percentage. That is very misleading. It was only on 25 attempts. But Xylon Cheatham from Arizona State, he's not going to be Draymond Green, but he's like a Draymond Green light type of guy. In the draft guide, we have Jeremy Grant, Alfonso McKinney as comps for him as well. And I think there's a path to him being a really important role player on a good team. So I hope a team gives him an opportunity.
He'll get a two-way, I think, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if he goes undrafted, he could be a two-way, but I hope he gets drafted and gets an opportunity.
You do kind of fall in love with these types of players, often. Like Ben Moore was another guy.
I
still
SMU,
like Ben Moore.
Ben Moore. Is he hanging around somewhere?
Yeah, he was with
on the
Indiana and
Pacers?
San Antonio
Yeah.
last year. I still like Ben Moore. Too smart.
Two organizations.
I always
that
root for Dallas
love to do
guys,
it.
man. Love it.
From a question from Starpug. What should the Celtics do with all the picks they have this year? They have the 14th, 22nd, and 20th pick and the 22nd pick in the first round, and they are trying to move those. They got to consolidate.
You have to, right?
You have to move up.
How far can you move up with those?
Where
are you trying to go to?
I think it's really about getting rid of those picks as much as anything, just because you play 3 rookies. So you have to use that value tonight or tomorrow night or whatever. So however high you can go, I guess. I think they should get a big man to kind of replace a Horford guy as a roll of the dice.
Goga.
I would love Goga there.
How about a bold bowl? Would you take a swing on him or no?
See, to me, I love Goga and Nick Claxton. To me, there's very, very good big men who I can be much safer on. I love those guys. And to me, I want to take one of them. I don't want to risk on Bol Bol.
Let's take a question from, this goes right into it perfectly, from Jack O'Connor. Nice last name.
I'm telling you, Caleb's playing all these questions, man.
I'm not planting anything.
I see you over here.
I only planted one question from Jack O'Connor. Are there any impact centers in this draft? Yeah, it's Goga.
Yeah.
Goga is a guy who could potentially be a lottery pick. And we talked a little bit about
I think we're
him
all
earlier.
really high on him, right?
Yeah, I have him ranked 7th on my board. I think we all have him either top 10 or lottery. Goga, to me, is clearly a guy who's going to be a solid contributor for a long time. It's just a matter of what heights he reaches on the offensive end. And Tjarks, you wrote a really great piece in The Ringer. I think it was about Jokic, but it was really from a broader perspective about the important traits in centers in today's league. And you mentioned how because of so many teams playing perimeter-oriented basketball with shooting and spacing and fast pace, it's like the importance of defense for a center is a little bit diminished. Even a Clint Capella and Rudy Gobert can get played off the floor. So you need to have an offensive impact. And Goga, with his passing and shooting and post play, he projects as a guy that fits exactly that mold that you were talking about.
Yeah, I watched some clips of him shooting threes, and I was like, oh man, he's like a legit 7 foot 250. He can shoot threes. He's a smart player. He can pass decently. And like what you're saying, KOC, bigs got to be skilled these days. It's hard to be a great big and not have skill, not have offensive ability, not be able to dribble, shoot, and pass. He can do those 3 things already at 19.
Yeah, and we also don't need to shortchange him too much on defense. He's a good rim protector.
Yeah.
It's just he doesn't really have the lateral quickness to.
He's got legit size.
Guard. Yeah.
And he moves pretty well for a guy that big.
He's nimble, and he's gotten better each year as a shooter. Gotten better each year as a defender as well. So maybe right now he's a teenager.
Yeah, let's talk Claxton too. I like that guy.
That's
a lot.
another good one. Yeah. So tell us
so
about Nick Claxton.
Nick Claxton he's 6'11", and 220. He's thin, but he really has skills. He can dribble it. He played some point guard for Georgia last year at his size.
He was basically the point guard.
Yeah, I mean, you watch him play, it's like, wow, this 6'11" guy with all these skills, and he's pretty good at defense too. that's a guy with his skills. You don't see very many guys that big with that kind of skill set at this stage in their careers. I think there's a risk, obviously, because he's so skinny. And he's not a great shooter, but the upside for him is very, very high, I think.
Are you quite as high on Claxton, Danny?
I worry about his physique a little bit, if he's going to be able to bang, and I don't quite trust his jump shot.
Me neither.
Like he's a lefty, and lefties are generally like very pretty shooters. He doesn't really have a pretty jump shot.
Yeah.
I think with Claxton, like the fact he's going to be in the lottery green room. Well, not the lottery.
He
he's gonna
moved
be in
up.
the draft
He got
green room.
this morning.
Yeah, really
Got him
impressive.
in. Yeah.
I mean, he's somebody that looked like a second-round draft pick, a potential steal. Speaking of steals, a question from Kyle Alexander McDonald. He asked, "What are your thoughts on Malcolm Brogdon, a restricted free agent this year for the Milwaukee Bucks? Somebody who was a steal in the draft, won Rookie of the Year, and has become a guy that could get a pretty good payday this summer." And Kyle asked, could the team like the Suns pry him away with a big offer? With Brogdon, the only concern really with him is injury.
Right.
Prior to the draft, he got red flagged for a foot issue. But with him, it's like he's become the player that you want and like a high-end role player.
He's basically the Al Horford of backcourt players. He
I
can,
like that.
He can kind of give you a little bit of everything. He's strong. He's very fundamentally sound. Can shoot the three. Can guard your best player on the perimeter.
He guarded Kawhi really well in that
Yeah.
series. He was their best defender on Kawhi. And he's a 50, 40, 90 shooter who's the best defender on Kawhi in a series and can pass the ball. I was thinking for Dallas, I'd rather have him than Horford. I love Horford because you're right. He's like a smaller Horford, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, we have a question from you from BJIZLE 150. There's probably a name in there.
What?
For Danny Chau, where would you suggest Zion eat in New Orleans?
Ooh.
What's the first place Zion gonna go after?
So
he gets
the first
drafted?
place. So the airport is in Kenner, and in Kenner there is a spot called Harbor Seafood. Just get your crawfish fix like immediately.
Nice.
I think I went there with like 4 or 5 people. We got like 10 pounds. Just go hard on the crawfish and get it out of your system because you won't be able to eat that good during the regular season.
How do you remember all these places around the world to eat? I feel like my memory is so bad. I'm like on Google Maps, like saving places and hearting places on there. I remember that I actually ate there.
Well, it's a lot of me like writing these food diaries and just having like the names of those restaurants like down. It helps a lot.
You have to have your priorities in order, KOC.
Yeah.
Good food should be high on your list.
I know. It needs to be. From Dylan Bose. What is the best way for the Hawks to consolidate their picks in this year's draft? And of course, they have 8, 10, and 17 in the first round. They also have 3 second-rounders. Like, where are you trying to trade up to? We talked a little bit about this earlier, but where are you trying to trade up to, and who are you trying to target if you're the Atlanta Hawks?
See, to me, he's the Reddish team. Like, if Cam Reddish is going to go somewhere and be really good, playoff Trae Young, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, gives them a good defender. I think he's such a perfect fit for their system. I know people are saying they're trading up. No one, I don't know who's it for, but I feel like it should be Reddish because he'd be perfect for them.
One guy I think we should talk about, and this is a question from Jason Weber. Will a team reach for Romeo Langford? He's low on most boards, but there's a lot of potential, and he was hurt. With Romeo Langford, he's one of the more confusing prospects in the draft to me. Where are you with Langford, and what is it about his game that makes him so confusing, Tjarks?
I think it's the thumb injury. So he got hurt, was it late November? I can't remember the exact date. And he could have been shut off for the season. Mm-hmm. He couldn't really shoot that well, and his role was to be a primary scorer. So it's just tough to evaluate him if you're not knowing how good of a shooter he really is, how good of a scorer he is, because he was very inefficient.
How about you, Danny?
I mean, I really like him just because there probably wasn't a better finisher around the rim in terms of like a backcourt player than him. He has some phenomenal touch and some phenomenal body control. I'd love to see him like get better as a ball handler so that he can kind of become a primary guy, but he has some traits that like you want out of a scorer like that.
There's like him and Kevin Porter. There are guys who could be taken later in the draft who could rise down the road because they have primary ability.
Yeah, Langford, he was a freshman in Indiana. He had moments where he was ball stopping, where his shot's just fine. It's not great by any means, but there's definitely a path for him to becoming, if not a go-to scorer type, at least maybe a spark plug off the bench, somebody who can get buckets for you, and there's value in that.
Sure.
I think in the middle of the first round.
I think with all these guys, it's just a 3-point shot. If he can hit threes consistently, he'll have a real spot in the league.
Let's move on to the final question from today's live Corner 3 from Matt. The rumor is Zion versus Michael Porter Jr. at Summer League. I'm not sure about that rumor, but the question from Matt is, what are the Summer League matchups you want to see most?
Ooh, that's a good question. I got to think about that.
It's Zion versus RJ for me.
Do you think they would guard each other?
Maybe, at least on a couple possessions, we'll get that.
Yeah. Like I remember it was so cool to watch last year. It was like Jaren Jackson versus Jonathan Isaac. Like, who's coming back from last year's class?
Yeah, that's really the thing, right?
That's true. It depends largely on the guys who come back, because who really knows? Some guys, might take the summer
Will
off.
Zion play? Doesn't he have a Team USA thing? He might not play or something.
I'm not sure, but I think for me, it's like almost less than the matchups. I'm curious to see which guys made advancements in their game since the end of the college season. Like, how does Cam Reddish look post-surgery to his core? Is his three-point shot ironed out a little bit? Is his handle tightened more? Because evaluation never ends for any of these young players, or even.
I love that's a great tagline.
It's the truth. It doesn't end. It's the truth. So for Cam Reddish, to me, it's like, are we gonna immediately be like, wow, how'd he fall to 8?
Right.
How'd he fall to 9? He should have been the second pick in the draft. No. Like there could be a chance that one of the guys just pops in Summer League and immediately looks like a steal.
I would love to see a guy like Lonnie Walker, who
I love it.
dropped in the draft probably because of injury concerns, had an injury that he had to basically sit out the entire season with the Spurs with. I want to see how he stacks up to a lot of these wings in this year's class.
I think maybe Mo Bamba comes back, though he got hurt. Maybe he doesn't.
Right. Mo Bamba versus Bol.
Ooh. I'm into
that would be fun.
I'm into that.
Like you might see like Kevin Knox out there, Miles Bridges maybe. Guys like that, like older wings against like whoever, against like RJ. I'd love to see RJ versus Kevin Knox. Something like that'd be a fun matchup.
Would love to see.
So they'll be the same team possibly. I think about it.
We'd love to see DeAndre Ayton of the Bright Future Suns shooting threes out there.
You think he'll play Summer League?
I don't know. I'd like to see it.
I don't think he'll play Summer League. I'd be surprised if DeAndre's out there.
Summer League will be right around the corner following free agency and the draft. We have the draft on June 20th. And tomorrow night, we're going to be a live show with me, Danny Chau, and John Gonzalez. Tjarks, you'll be, I think, occasionally popping in with grades.
Y'all are the stars. I'm missing the back.
I know you'll be writing, though. I know that. You'll be writing, man.
Yeah.
You're doing draft grades tomorrow night. That's tomorrow night on the Ringer. I think we're going to go live.
Are you going to have flashcards again?
I'm not sure.
I was last year. You were showing the flashcards.
Yeah, I'll give it.
It was pretty low-fi.
Another F+ to whoever the Bulls draft. We'll be doing that tomorrow night. And I think looking ahead, we might also be doing something ahead of free agency as well. So look out for that.
We'll have a podcast right after the draft.
I believe
Definitely.
so. We'll be doing a show after the you'll see that in your podcast feeds on Friday morning or late Thursday night.
I'm excited. I love the draft. It's so much fun.
It's the best time.
It really
of
year.
It's
the
NBA
best.
Christmas for us.
The
actual NBA Christmas.
And I think the draft could be nuts with surprises and trades, trade ups, trade downs, and maybe big star trades. We'll see.
Oh, I love it.
We'll
tease the audience. That's great. That's great.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. That's all we have time for today.
See ya.
Thanks.